My name is Mr. Mick, and I am looking quarantine fine, I must say. No, I'm not. I'm just going to check. Oh, yeah, I got to 50 subscribers, and that's so exciting to me. Okay. So there is no chats in this stream because actually let me move this table around my desk to get the lighting a little bit better so you can see how bad my well I'm basically still in my pajamas. I've been streaming all day, you know, and some days I wake up and I take a cold shower because I'm really into this, it's almost like a meditation kind of a thing, of a guy named Wim Hof. He's a really interesting guy. I think he's from Iceland, and he does this kind of cold shower thing. See these? Well, there's a painting back there that I made years ago. I combined my face with that of Eugene O'Neill, who is my favorite playwright. And as things have been unfolding lately for me and our country and our world, I think playwrights like Eugene O'Neill and their ideas and things are of the utmost importance. But so I combine myself and O'Neill, and it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine because I'm a teacher at Creative Arts in Camden. And we're going to get to this in just a minute. But I'm a teacher at Creative Arts in Camden, and the drama teacher there, Dr. Overtomb, who is I guess I would say classical Shakespearean actor. We're in a drama group together called the Apocryphal Shakespeare. Maybe I'll link that in the bottom. We do readings of Shakespeare and apocryphal plays. So, why did that just cut off? Come on. There we go. Is the stream more? Okay, so it cut off, so now I need to re-enable this. Okay, so apocryphal, what does that mean? Apocryphal, I don't have the definition in front of me, but it's not known whether or not it's a legitimate Shakespeare play. It's thought that Shakespeare had something to do with those plays. Maybe he wrote a scene. Oh wow, it keeps cutting out. What is going on? What is the what? Excuse me. So let me do this. I'm going to close the program and I'm going to reopen it again. So I need to make a note that in the link, the description below, I'm going to, not right now obviously because it's live, but I'm going to add the link to our Shakespeare group. We're probably going to start doing live readings because what we do is basically a staged reading. Actually, if you look apocryphalshakespeare.tumblr.com or something along those lines, but that's our blog. And you can check out what we're doing there and when we start doing things live again, and we're going to start doing things online again. But I was talking to Dr. Overtomb, who is really the head of the group, and he's the head of the drama department at Creative Arts at my school, Creative Arts in Camden. He's actually the only drama teacher, well, in the public school system of Camden. I think the charter school system might have drama teachers. I don't know any of them, but Doc, as we call him, and as I'll refer to him in the future here, we were talking about the plays of Eugene O'Neill because that's my messy closet behind me. Let me just do this. Boom. I should put something there. This is a cool little space here because you get like a differentiation. This is an actual canvas I found at Rutgers Camden. It was abandoned, and an abandoned canvas. I actually painted a figure. I found another one. I painted a figure on it at figure drawing at Rutgers. I like that figure actually, and that one I've been waiting to do something with. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start doodling on it soon, maybe in like white color pencil or something because it's such a dark background. And then it'll turn into a painting. It's kind of, it looks like the universe right now. It's just the contrast isn't very good, whoever painted it. So it's tough to tell like the galaxy and stuff relative just the black of space, right? So, and then back there is the Eugene O'Neill combination painting. But we were talking about O'Neill's, Doc and I, again, we were talking about O'Neill's, and you're like, Mr. Mick, what are you even talking about? What does this have to do with this drawing lesson? Okay, what I'm gonna do is get my drawing going, and I'm gonna talk about this while I draw, okay? Fair enough, good point. Good point, Internet, even though you didn't actually say it. Comments are turned off because I tried turning comments on, and because this content is made for kids. It's made for, well, not just for kids, but for anybody. But I want kids to be able to look at these videos and to draw and to learn how to draw. And what was happening is I turned the comments on because I thought, well, maybe the audience is small because of people watching the videos. Is this still in? Oh my gosh. Sorry. I'm going to give you my undivided attention. I thought the audience might be small because... I made the video for kids. Okay, so I turned the comments on, and wouldn't you know, like 2 videos in, somebody says something really, really like inappropriate in the comments to me, and I'm like, dude, like this is meant for anybody to learn how to draw. Kids could be looking at this, so. You know, I mean, I guess the thing is the internet, I understand, it's a public space, you know, and just like walking through Grand Central Station or something, you know, did you ever see the movie, well, get your parents' permission, but there's a movie with Bruce Willis, I think it's called Unbreakable, or Glass, no, Unbreakable, the first one with Bruce Willis, with M. Night, I can't pronounce his name. He's from the Philly area, though, famous director. And, you know, Bruce Willis, like, walks through and he can bump into people and he can just, by bumping and touching them, he can learn about what they're really like as a person. And he finds all these bad people. And he's like a superhero that's got to take on all the bad people. And, so the internet's a little bit like that. It's filled with all kinds of people, not just good people and bad people. And the bad people are kind of running amok. And they're you don't know that they're bad. They're behind a keyboard somewhere, but all of a sudden they say something really, really crazy, and you're like, why? No one asked for that. So what I've done here, now I'm going to go to this picture. So this originally started with this, all right? And to me, this image, which is my candle lighter. I have candles somewhere around here, over here. I like candles. I like the way they smell. That's just me. A friend of mine years ago walked into his room and it smelled really nice. I'm like, man, candles are awesome. And they are. They're always selling candles at my school, and I always buy the candles. Partly because I want to help out, and partly because I like candles. So here's this candle lighter. Now, get your parents' permission before you touch one of these things, obviously, if you're young. And there's child safety anyway. And actually, my dad couldn't use the child safety. So child safety actually works. It looked like an anglerfish to me. It looked like one of these guys with their little light coming off their head, right? So I started off, and let's see if I can find an earlier version, because I did make okay. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on there with student work and stuff. Okay, so this, unfortunately, will. I think Apple's trying to get me to buy a new iPad because it keeps crashing all the time. But it started with this anglerfish, and it started with just a sketch and you can see it there, right? There's my sketch of that candle lighter. And then if you go back, I believe the video is posted. If it's not, I'm going to make a compilation video, which is like all of this stuff together, edited together, as one kind of how-to. Right now it's live. But I started with this, and it's my inspiration. But then I used as references, I used these. I used this. So when I was I drew like you saw there, I drew the lighter first. The candle lighter. I drew that first, and then I started mixing in things from this anglerfish, and the body I actually used a seahorse, and you can see that if I go back to it. Now this is gonna crash. Oh, there you go, it crashed. Okay. Thank you, either Autodesk or Apple. I don't know. I mean, Autodesk, I love you, so if your free program crashes every time I open it and I have to open it twice, that's fine, because I love your thing. Apple, I'm not buying a new iPad just because it crashes a little more, although I'm very tempted, okay? So there you can see that I start, okay, I didn't mean to do that, okay. One to the other. One, you can kind of see how they connect where the mouth is, the light. And what I started to do today with my students through first and second and then 7th and 8th periods with my freshmen and my juniors, because this is now a project for them where they have to find something in their house to turn into another creature. I've just been working on it, right? And what I did was I added these textures. Now, a friend of mine named Chance, and maybe I'll even link his webpage, because he does these amazing caricatures. He really taught me the beauty of caricature and really encouraged me to learn caricature. And it's something, Chance, if you ever see these, I'm still working on, and I'm still trying to master, because I think caricature is just a great skill to know as an artist. And actually, a friend of mine, Laura, she was an art teacher in Camden as well. She does a thing where she does these cartoons every day for her students, and I can see that she's really working on mastering caricature as well. So I've layered on these textures, right? You can see I can turn them on and off. So on the lowest level, I have just the water, right? And I just searched in Google for textures, and I made sure I turned the searches on HD to get high quality textures. So on the bottom level, we have that just water texture. It's actually not the best texture, because you can see that kind of like artifacts and the kind of weird pixel quality of it. But you know, I could find a better texture. But let's see what happens when I add the other textures. So then I have the drawing there. Okay, and one thing that's important about the drawing that I didn't think about, but then I figured out, is I had to make, see, if I turn this layer off, you can see right through the fish or the creature. That's kind of cool, but what I did was I made a whole, just almost like a sticker, white sticker layer underneath, so that no matter what happens with underneath, it doesn't change the actual creature on top. Did you see that? So if this was off, and I turn this on and off, all of a sudden the color of the creature is really changing. But if you put that layer underneath, then you don't have to worry about that, okay? So then I started layering on top. The first layer was this kind of, I think I literally searched swamp on Google. HD swamp textures, right? Found this. It's not watermarked. I believe this was the textures that I did use end up grabbing were free textures. This was a free texture. And then I found it kind of like, it's like a reflective pool, right? To get that kind of, the way the light filters through the water, that's really cool, right? So adding all those textures together creates this really, really interesting combination of textures. And then I added this kind of outline. Oh, I added this layer, which was, you know, I started adding lights and shading and stuff. I said, well, what if the eye, it's like almost like they're blind or something, and the light, they just have a dim sense of light. I don't know. I got rid of the pupil. I thought it made it kind of more creepy. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. And then I put this outline layer, which is like a sticker, you know, so the outline and silhouette of the creature really pops off the background, right? Let me fix this here. See, when I go to like photo mode, it changes the way that it photo. And when I turn right now, it's portrait, and when I go to landscape. This is for like the other art teachers out there. It changes. It changes the format of this box, which can be a little frustrating. Okay, so then I said, okay, well, let me work on the drawing a little more by itself. So I added a layer of just basically like an off tone, slightly off white. It could have just been white too. And I lowered the opacity just so it unified the whole thing, like knocked the whole thing back. And that's just on a layer, right? And then I've been going through and just working on clarifying the drawing. So it's almost like you've probably written papers before where you have like an outline and then you have a first draft and a second draft and a third draft. That's the way to think about this drawing. It's one of the things I like about working digitally, but you can do this with you could do this with tracing paper, or you could do this by, like I said before, where you take a piece of paper towel and you blend back your drawing to knock the drawing back. This layer here basically unifies. There's lots of lights and darks and stuff and complicated stuff going on there, but if I put this on, it sort of simplifies everything, unifies everything. The lights and darks are sort of evened out, and now I'm just going through and just sort of more precisely, almost like inking. And I'm coming in, I'm finding some textures and stuff in the fins. I got this idea that maybe the light actually is like a light bulb, that maybe this creature is like a kind of maybe it's controlled by like a little like cute alien. So it looks really scary, but it's like an alien ship that's come to Earth, and it doesn't know that it's chosen the most scary of forms to try to make friends with, right? I think there's probably a Pixar movie about something like that. Or maybe it's a creature that just wants to turn the light off, and here's the little pulley to pull the light, to turn the light off, like the little lamp to pull the light off, but it's got no arms. It can't pull, the light accidentally got turned on, and normally it doesn't like the light to be on because it scares people away and it just wants to make friends. I don't know. I'm creating a whole backstory and narrative. If I see this in a Pixar short, hey, this video has been uploaded, May 21st, 2020, Pixar. So you best be putting me in the credits. But this is something where I just started with an object, a very simple object that I found that kind of looked like something else, and I turned it into this, right? And I think that's a lot of fun because I started with an observational drawing. I started by looking at the thing, or I took a picture of the thing and then I did a drawing of it. I could have just sat it on the table and drawn it, but then I took the observational thing that I drew, and using the elements of perspective, which I always talk about, the principles of overlap and foreshortening, they're all in here. If you look at my earlier videos, you'll see those drawing lessons about, I go through the elements of perspective, where you overlap and foreshortening and shading and surface lines and size. There's 7 elements of perspective, and you can bring all of those to bear in a drawing. The drawing takes on a very dynamic kind of a feel. And I feel like as this drawing is developed, I've become more interested in it because, and I hope you have too, hopefully you like it better than just that simple actual candle lighter drawing that I had. But hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of like, well, how can I look around in the world around me and find things that look like they're used for one thing. Like I kept, in a previous example, I can't remember if it was with my students or not, or it was here, I had an AirPod case. But like, for example, here's my mouse, right? Now, one thing, the mouse comes apart. So it could be like, this is some sort of like spaceship, right? All of a sudden it's a mouse. You do a drawing of the mouse, but then what if you started expanding how it could be used to, or interpreted to be something else? What if it is a spaceship? What if it is like a fancy race car, right? So you're probably surrounded by things in your home, or even looking out, like if you looked outside and maybe you see a fire hydrant, you do a sketch of it, and all of a sudden maybe there's all kinds of creatures living inside, right? So you sort of using observation for drawing, which is really important, but also using the elements of perspective, which I talked about with McIntyre, and I think it's probably linked below already to his book. I don't get anything for that referencing that book. I just spreading the good word about how you can learn to draw and teach drawing if you're a teacher. And also Walt Stanchfield, who I think was another great, great teacher, animator. But what you can do is, using observation, looking in the world around you, using the elements of perspective, but then that third most important ingredient, right? You're taking the things that you see, you're taking the skills that you know, but then you're using your own creativity. And everybody has it. I believe every human being is blessed with creativity. We just don't, I don't say we don't use it, but sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day and we don't remember. And we're so caught up in what's going on in the world, understandably. And it may be the case that people are sick in your family, or people have passed away, or you're just overall scared and people are losing jobs and all kinds of things. So it's like, I started off today not in the best of moods, to be fair. Thinking that maybe today was gonna be not the best of days. And then I started working on this drawing. And to be honest, when I started on it, this is before I had figured out the whole layer thing and the texture thing. And I didn't think it was that cool of a drawing. I was like, nah, I'm just doing it. It's an assignment for my students, but I'm not really that into it. I think they'll get something out of it. Maybe they'll probably end up with something better than me. That does happen. I've taught a number of my students caricaturing, and they end up as better caricature artists than me. They can actually go and make money doing it, and I'm happy for them. I'm also slightly jealous, but that's okay. It's like if you're a music teacher and all of a sudden you worked really hard to learn the trumpet for like 30 years, and then you have a student that is greater than you, is mastered everything you can teach them within a few months, and they're already beyond you. There's a story about Leonardo da Vinci, which is kind of like that. Apparently, his teacher, I wanted to say it was Donatello, but I don't think it is Donatello. But it might have been Donatello. He was in Donatello's studio, and he painted on one of Donatello's paintings. He painted these angels at the bottom, and which are very famous angels that people make posters of them. They're like the two angels that are like just chilling like that. And let's see my crazy hair. It's not too crazy. And Donatello saw what Da Vinci had painted and was like, you know what? I ain't painting no more. I'm going to go sculpt. So the student had become the master. And, I'm sure plenty of you looking at this are going to, so hopefully some of you who see these videos, you come across the elements of perspective, you come across the work of McIntyre and Stanchfield, and you apply these principles and you end up way better at caricaturing and these kinds of fun drawings than me. But that's the whole point. And the point is, if you're given I believe that if everybody is given the tools to express themselves, that everyone has something to say. And there's something uniquely human in all of us. And there's something deep and profound in all of us. We all have a story to tell, but we, for whatever reason, keep those things hidden because we're afraid of what the world might say. So we live our lives mostly out of fear and stress and anxiety. And I'm someone that's really struggled with anxiety. And I'm not saying that drawing is the solution to anxiety. I think meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, these things I use all these different principles. I think those are the ways to solve anxiety. But I think once you are anxiety free and you're open, and you have the time, you're not stressed as much, and you have the time to invest into yourself and explore yourself. Like Martin Luther King said, the unexamined life is the life not yet lived. But to examine your own life is, at times, potentially very scary. So people don't do it. Understandably, because why would they want to? Because it's scary. And it's up to them to do it. It's not up to you. Getting back to O'Neill, I know you might be like a first grader who was like, Mommy, I just want to learn how to draw, and that's fair enough. And we're going to do that too. Look, I'm doing that. I'm adding a little bit of value. I'm going to keep, while I'm talking, I'm going to draw and talk so that if you want to just mute this and watch me draw and put on some, hip hop, the thing, what is that? The free like streaming hip hop tunes. I like those a lot too. I put them on in my classroom very often. That and a lot of ABBA. Big ABBA fan. What was I saying? Oh, okay. Yes, the question of being open and the question of being courage. It requires courage. I gave a speech when I won teacher. I won teacher of the district in Camden in 2017, and I gave a speech then about vulnerability, being vulnerable. And because I believed at that time, and it's funny because I think this is a lesson that I have to keep relearning and I keep teaching myself. But I said there that I think one of the requirements of being a teacher is to care about your students. And I think that's true. But what does that mean? And I think one of the greatest acts of courage that you can, let me turn the volume up here. I don't know if this is very low or what. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. One of the greatest acts of courage that a person can do, is that the right word? Can perform. I like perform better. Is that they can tell the truth about themselves to other people. I think actors, I really like actors a lot. I like acting a lot. And I studied with a guy named Robert Beltran, who is a Shakespearean actor. You can look him up. Great actor and great teacher. And we would do scene work. He was our coach. He was our teacher, and we would do scene work where we were it was like drama school. It was a drama school. It was tough. We only had one teacher. It was him, and he was tough. And I would see people. Walk up to the edge, like say this is where their comfort zone is. They would walk up to the edge of their comfort zone, and then they would go this way. And Robert would say, "No, you need to go over here." And they were like, "How about that?" And they're like, "No, we can see." And what did that look like? It might have been that person was being required to cry in a scene, and not just cry, but really invest themselves totally open and emotionally in a scene. What does this have to do with drawing? I think that, it has to do with teaching, and it has to do with what I think the world needs. It always needs this, but now more so than ever, because we don't trust each other. I know I definitely don't trust our government. And but the thing is that even though I don't trust our government that they're making the best choices right now in this crisis. And I hear, I have this. I'm right by a park here, where I'm at here in New Jersey, and people walk by this park and they talk about all kinds of things. Like I heard one guy saying they're going to take the Social Security. They're going to take, I can't remember what else. He basically had a conspiracy that everything that's going on right now is basically a government plan to get what they want from us or something. the people that say those kinds of things, well, this is just something that's repeating that, but the people that get onto YouTube and say those kinds of things, I believe are fear mongers. You're really outside the bounds of a drawing lesson now, Mr. Mick. Yes, I am. But I believe that people that are pointing the finger at government, I know we have a history in this country of people like Thomas Paine and others that, and I realize I gotta get these teeth going on the other side. I haven't drawn the teeth in, I kind of avoided that. And then there's gonna be some that come down this way, and I imagine they're like out here somewhere like this. Something like this. But we have a history in this country of people that speak up, that they see something that's wrong and they speak up. But Plato said, just to keep going all over the map here, because why not? Plato said that in the Republic, Socrates, through Socrates, maybe Socrates actually said it first and Plato just repeated it, but that democracy, the democracy is not the most ideal form of government because it can devolve into a mob rule tyranny. And when you see the news and people just going like, oh, we don't like what the government's doing, we're just going to take things in our own hand, that's concerning. It sounds like what Plato talked about coming true. For all those supposed philosophers out there talking about they know what's really going on. Yeah, right. I believe the great thinkers write about they articulate their thoughts in writing. And here I am just saying whatever I'm saying. Well, I'm working on drawing and I'm just an art teacher, so I don't claim to really know anything. You can just mute me and watch me draw this crazy creature. But I just get the feeling that you can see moments where the tyranny rears its ugly head. The potential for democracy to become tyranny expresses itself. And I think at times, recently, you can see that happening. When Plato says that, it seems great. It seems great. Let everyone have a say. And I agree with that. But we live in a republic. And I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach you something here. This is a democratic republic, meaning that we have representative government. We elect the best from among us, or supposed to be the best among us. And if they're not the best, we vote them out. We get somebody else that we think might be better. But we have representative democracy here. We don't have a direct democracy because the founders knew. They had read Plato. They knew. You don't go directly to the people because yeah, at times if the people are all just on the ball, then sure. But do you agree with everybody? Do you think, as long as your side's in charge, then sure. That's the way it is. It's like, yeah, I want to say what we should be doing, but it's as long as you're in charge. As long as you're in charge, you're fine with that. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this texture in the background. But when it's, I'm just going to work on this in a kind of, like this, I think. Or I can just work on the drawing. I don't know. We'll see. But that's the way it goes, is that most people want there to be a democracy, or they want to have a say, but they want to have a say as long as they're they want it to be directly controlled by them or their friends or their party, But we have a republic. it's not. We don't have a republic. We have due process. We have laws that are made and debated, and we are supposed to elect people that carry out the will of the people, or what's best for the people. I guess that's the thing. It's not, you're not just carrying out the will of the people. You're trying to do what's best for the people. And the thing is that okay, look at that. What I did there. Those layers only work. Okay, that's just value. That's just values. And that's the outline, the sticker outline, which I kind of like. Although I kind of like it without the sticker outline. I'm going to leave it without the sticker outline for now. And I'm going to actually take, I see. Let me move this. I'm just going to lower the opacity of this. So it's there, but not there. Because in the end, I think this top layer, this topmost layer is going to be the final drawing. What was I saying? I was talking about Republican. I don't know. It's just, and I guess getting back to O'Neill, I was talking to my friend Doc, and we were talking because he's been really into the Morning Becomes a Lecture plays of O'Neill, which were really, it's really a great play. He's literally trying to channel the Greek playwrights. He's rewriting the Aristoi, the trilogy where Agamemnon comes back from the war, the Trojan War, and he's killed by Clytemnestra, and because Clytemnestra is super mad, understandably mad. I mean, Agamemnon, you did sacrifice her beloved daughter, Iphigenia, to get the Trojan War started. So I could see why she would, be pretty upset. Now I just flipped it around to the other side because I like working on things in a mirrored way. If you are working on pencil and paper, how do you do that? You just look at it in a mirror, or you can take a picture of your drawing and just flip it around using even in iOS. If you go to the crop function, you can flip it around. So I'm mirroring. That's that's what it's called. So if you're in a different program or whatever, it's a mirror image of my drawing, so that by looking at it in a mirrored way, I can see things that I wouldn't otherwise notice, right? But Iphigenia or Clytemnestra is super angry at Agamemnon, and understandably so. She has she has the right to be angry. She has the right to seek justice. But she took justice in her own hands. That's the problem. That again becomes the sticking point. It's like there's a way you have to go about doing things to make them right. And if you don't go about it the right way, you open up a can of worms that is actually worse. It's like the medicine being worse than the disease it's trying to cure. Years ago, my mom had cancer, and she's recovered from it. She had surgery to take it out, and then she had chemotherapy. And chemotherapy is a really, really, for anyone else who's had family members that have dealt with that, it's a really, really painful and debilitating medicine, right? So what does this have to do with drawing? Let's see if I can make my way back to why I'm doing this. Because I think all art is a type of expression of something within. And I think that that's the noble ends that art aspires to. And I think that you know, art is used to sell you, you know, hot dogs too. Not that I dislike hot dogs. I'll eat a good hot dog, right off the grill, a little bit burnt. But that's my point, is that, you know, sometimes art is communicating something from within, saying something, connecting. Art's about connecting one person to another. You know, you might think this drawing is really cool, and you might be hanging out and watching and listening to me talk because you're like, he's doing some cool thing here with this drawing. You don't really maybe care much for what I have to say, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I'm probably going to listen to this later and go, wow, what was I? You know, it's like the playwright Arthur Miller once wrote a whole essay on tragedy, what tragedy is, and later he was like, man, I should have never wrote that. You know. So maybe I'll look back on what I said here, and at some point I'll disagree. And guess what? That's okay too. It's okay to change the way you think. A lot of people don't feel that way. I hate the fact that politicians don't change before us. They don't go, you know what? I rethought that and I was really off. Oh my God. He's a human. She is a human. Oh gosh. There's that vulnerability question again. It takes courage. Like, a good person to read on this is Ulysses S. Grant. Go read his memoirs. I'm not really into history and stuff, but I am into humans and humanity and what it means to be a human and what it means to try to figure out what it means to be a human and why do I want to make images? Why do I find this to be so much fun that I could be playing a video game right now? I don't even have to be doing this right now, but I'm sitting here doing this. And also, for me, talking about ideas is a lot of fun too. I find that to be as enriching as art. And I think the best art is the art that's expressing an idea or an emotion or a thought. And I think all art really in some way always does. We can't help it, you know. Try to get away from it as we might. Like Shelley says. Shelley talks about in the defense of poetry, Percy Shelley, he talks about the a certain age that he lived in, which was like a transitional, you know, exciting time. It was a time of revolution. You know, he's I believe not long after the American Revolution, so the world was changing in really profound ways, and he talks about the artists of that time and the writers of that time and what it would mean to be a writer and an artist in that time. And he also talks about people that lived then. And he says, you know, the artists might say, no, I don't have ideas. I'm writing for me. I'm not thinking about the revolution in the thought and change. I guess it would be the Enlightenment that's happening at this time. I'm doing this for blah, blah, blah. And Shelley says, while they deny and object, they are yet compelled to serve. And I feel like that, you know, we are in a period like that. I feel like what's going on in the world is a test to us. Are we going to put away the old ways? There's no more, if we don't tell each other the truth, There's no, if you have COVID, you have to tell your neighbor, like, yo, dude, I'm sick. Don't come over here to borrow the sugar, or we can't hang out and whatever, because I'm sick and I might get you sick. So we have to be honest with each other. There's no more not talking to the neighbor. You know, when I grew up, we played in the neighborhood, and you know, the neighbor, I got caught doing something stupid, the neighbor would tell my dad, and my dad would whoop my butt, right? Because we looked out for each other. Sorry about that. We looked out for each other. That was part of what it meant, you know, that was part of the community. And, okay. Oh, it just took over. Okay, I'm declined there. Okay, declined everywhere. See, iPad just decided it wasn't going to work there. Thank you, Apple. Now look at all the little intricacies in this drawing that are going on there. It's like, I don't know where this is. I have no reference for this other than all of the hours and hours that I've spent practicing this kind of drawing. But I think we're at a place where we have to start to reevaluate what the choices that we make and how we act. And we can't be governed by our fears anymore, because we literally have to be open and communicate with each other in an honest way. It's like, I don't have the quote exactly off the top of my head, but the end of King Lear. Okay, let's see. Let's just, Mr. Mick's going to be all over the map. We're going all over here. King Lear. Let's see if I can find the play. It's gonna be a bunch of like. Okay, the entire play. I assumed it was gonna be something like. Okay, made it to the end. This is it. This right here is the truth. It is the truth, because when we are in a time like this, like the end of King Lear, it was chaos. The weight of this sad time we must obey. Speak what we feel, not what we ought to say. The oldest hath borne most. We that are young shall never see so much, nor live so long. The weight of this sad time we must obey. Don't run from the truth of what's in here. Speak what we feel, not what we ought to say. Don't think about what you should say. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Don't filter what you feel through what you think you should say. Just say what you feel. Because guess what? Everyone else is feeling the same way. Everyone else feels scared. Everyone else is nervous. Everyone's worried about their jobs. Everyone's worried about their family. Everyone's worried if the world's going to go back to normal. Stop pretending. Stop making commercials that... I just look at the commercials, and the commercials all change to talk about COVID as if this is normal. Bon Iver made a song called Don't Live in Fear. No, I say live in it. I say accept it. Learn to be comfortable with it. Learn not to be afraid of it. Don't pretend like it's okay. It's not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And I feel like that's the beauty of theater. That's the beauty of art. It teaches you to be open about what you really are and what you really feel. Because we aren't open with each other about who we really are and what we really feel. We hide that. What is this crazy creature? Maybe this crazy creature is the scared part of me. Maybe this is the scared part of me. I don't know, to get psychologically deep about it. But we have to say what we feel. not what we ought to say. I'm so tired of people saying what they feel like they ought to say, because what they feel like they ought to say is governed by what they think other people think they should say. Who cares what other people think? It's not the time to worry about what other people think. It's the time to find the truth that you feel within you and to articulate that truth to other people. Because when you articulate that truth to other people, that they can say, I feel that way too. I'm scared too. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. I think we need an FDR. We need a Martin Luther King. I think I've said it here before. We need a great leader. And I know. It's like, Mr. Mick, you're on your soapbox. I know I'm live here on YouTube, but I have 2 people watching, and I think one of them is me. I have an idea who the other person is. And I think the things I'm bringing up here are valid points. I don't think this is some sort of like, the observations I'm making are not, I don't know, they're to me just very common. I feel very, very obvious. I think people in the theater community probably, if they've been studying theater, the reason we study theater is, one, it's a safe place to explore these thoughts and these emotions. And we let theater die in this country. I mean, they don't even perform O'Neill the proper way it should be performed. They cut out stuff to make it like it's a 4-hour play, and they like shrink it down to be a 1-hour play. What if what you need to say can't be said in 1 hour, but it's really important? Oh, if it's really important, it shouldn't take so long. People's attention span. Well, maybe the problem is people. And I'm not saying that people should be getting rid of or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying people need to change. How should they change? I don't know. What's the way that they change? I don't know. I know that I'm done. I am not convinced anymore that O'Neill, when O'Neill wrote The Iceman, he said that he was really cynical and he was really frustrated with America, and he was like, maybe he looked at America as being a beacon or a symbol of the best humanity could do. And I believe that too. People say, America, this or that. I'm Irish, Polish, Czech. I'm even 1% Nigerian somehow. At least that's what my DNA thing said. And I don't even want to think about how that's the case, because it probably is something really awful. So, my grandfather's father spoke with an Irish accent. My great-grandmother, I don't know if she was born in the United States or born in Czechoslovakia at the time. I think now she would have been Slavic. The Polish side, so that's the Irish side, that's the Polish side, and then, or the Czech side, and then the Polish side, there's a picture in my basement of my great-grandparents, and I believe it was taken in Poland. And don't get me started on Poland. Man, I grew up not wanting anyone to know I was Polish, because all the jokes were about Polish people. Man, I hated it. There's a whole part of Canada called Polak, which to me is just crazy. I mean, I understand. It's like, people who live in Camden aren't thinking that they're saying a really derogatory word. But it's kind of like the only people that can call people Polacks are Polacks. you know what I'm saying? It's not a nice word. So, yeah, I grew up not wanting people to know where I was from, where my family was from, because, you know, I mean, I made jokes about Polish people because I had to fit in. Or I wanted to fit in. I thought it was important. What am I doing here? I don't know. I'm just adding surface lines. You know, all this stuff is like interesting detail stuff, I feel like. I think the drawing needs that. So, you know, please excuse my rambling. It is but a ramble, and I may even contradict myself. Like, if you watched a previous video, you may be like, but Mr. Mick, you talked about, you know, blah, blah, blah. And this is totally opposite of what you said just now. I may have changed my mind. Or, I may not know what I'm talking about. I am no philosophy teacher. I am no English teacher. I am no history teacher. I am merely an art teacher. And the art that I teach is based on the elements of perspective and the work of McIntyre, and I'm just conveying the good word. And I'm adding my own thoughts in there. But I think we need to look at those people in our past, those great leaders in our past. You know, it's like we're just waiting, you know. I really don't feel the current leadership of this country any part of that leadership, not just one side or the other. I don't feel like any part is the solution right now. I haven't seen a leader that has inspired me to go, you know what, they got the right idea. I mean, I know there's talk of some of the governors and the things that they say, and I know we can't expect. I'm gonna put a guideline in here to say, okay, all these back teeth gotta kind of fit along this line. It's pretty complicated in here with all these teeth. Why did I do this to myself? I could have left it out. I'm gonna, I do a pass by on the teeth and just sort of sketch them in a little bit and then come back. How long have I been going here for? I don't even know. Hold on, let's see. Does it say? I don't know. Oh, 57 minutes. Well, you know, I could do this for 57 hours. No, I couldn't. But it also goes to show, like, you just, you know, spend time. This drawing was not something that I was the biggest fan of. Oh, I got a message that I was supposed to check. I should have checked. No, heads up. Sorry. But that's private conversation. So, what am I finding in here in this drawing? I don't know. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the things that I think about. It's definitely a stream of consciousness. But believe me, all the things that I'm saying here are things that I'm thinking about regularly. So, you know, they do come with some, they're not deliberate in the sense that I've prepared notes on what I'm going to say here, but they're deliberate in the sense that, you know, I will go toe to toe with any Eugene O'Neill scholar who disagrees with what I've said here, because I was reading his letters this morning. So, am I an expert on O'Neill? I am an enthusiast. It is a hobby of mine. I could teach a class on the plays of Eugene O'Neill. I think at one time, I was really into O'Neill, and was very active. EugeneO'Neill.com. What's his name? Harley Hammerman is the guy that runs this site, I believe, and you know, I was active on the official website of Eugene O'Neill. What does that mean? I don't know. But I was, if he's the greatest of American playwrights, then at the minimum, he deserves some of our attention. And I believe everybody, you know, like we give so much to Shakespeare, and believe me, I love Shakespeare. I've said Hamlet. I think if you're a young man, I can't say I'm not a young woman. I don't know, but as a young man, you know, I'm gonna actually do this. So I'm gonna start talking to you. I start talking to you. An hour in, I finally ready to talk to you. But if you're a young man in the world, I think there is no better place to look at the various problems that you may face than Hamlet. Not in the sense that, like, your uncle is going to kill your dad and marry your mom. No, not that. I'm talking about the dilemma. The moral dilemma. What moral dilemma, Mr. Well, I'm glad you asked. The moral dilemma is this. The world, the time is out of joint. The time is always out of joint. It doesn't fit the way it should. Something's not quite right. What are you going to do about it? You going to just look out for you? You're going to just, well, that's what everyone does. That's all you can do. Maybe. Looking out for you and doing right by you might be the best way that you can set the time right. You're an example. You're the beacon. Look, the beacon, shining. What's behind the light? Oops. You thought you were shining the light. How do you know? How do you know that you're really shining the light? And how do you know you're not doing something else? How do you know when you go to protest at your gym? Because you want the freedom to go work out. The government can't tell you what to do. Participate in mob rule. But how do you know the mob is going the right way? You don't. You don't. It feels right. Things can feel like love, too. Have you ever been there? Have you ever had your heart broken? It feels right. It feels so right. And it feels right. It's got to be right, right? Oh. Can you trust your feelings? Is it the right thing to do? Trust is so hard. It's just such a crazy time. And is it a time? It could be potentially be a time, because the thing that excites me about right now is that, you know, to give the other side of the coin, right? Give the devil their due. Let's look at the other side of the coin while I work on this drawing. And if you're a first grader or a kindergartner or a parent of one, just mute the sound and have them watch me draw. But if you're someone that's like 11, 10 or 11 or older, these are things that you can start thinking about. I'm not saying that you have to spend your time thinking about them, but maybe go to the library and get Plato's dialogues and start reading them. Go get Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. It's one of the greatest works of American literature, I think, because he was someone. And you go get Emerson's Self-Reliance or Thoreau's Walden. Go get the plays of Eugene O'Neill. Go get the plays of Aeschylus and the plays of Euripides and the plays of Sophocles. Because these are universal problems. But to give the devil their due, to say, well, this seems like the worst of times. It was the best of times. It is the worst of times. Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. I think Dickens is one of the most underrated writers. I mean, granted, he's a classic writer, but most people I talk to about Dickens, they never read Dickens. They're like, it's too many words. Audiobook it. I audiobook Moby Dick. Moby Dick, I think, is one of the greatest. Well, obviously, it's one of the greatest works that's ever been written. You don't need to read the whole thing. You can. I would go audiobook to. I'm just blending back some of this, just adding a little bit of value. I'm gonna come back in with the drawing with my pen tool here. You know, I'm sort of really going in on this drawing here. You know, one thing I will say about streaming is I make a lot more art. But what I will say is Moby Dick. Really? Okay, no. Give the devil their due. Give the devil their due. What is the other side of this bleak outlook that I am saying here? Well, guess what? You know, Martin Luther King once talked about. Basically, that the world has to come to grips with what he was raising and what his civil rights movement was about. Why? Because he said, it's either a question, he said right now, it's a question of we either figure this out or we don't exist. People are like, well, what do you mean you don't exist? Because of nuclear war, we need to figure out how to learn to live together, or we don't exist. You know, we need to learn how to figure out COVID together as a humanity. Let's get past this whole nationalistic thing. It's great to be nationalistic in the sense of I believe there's a place for every culture, and there's a place to appreciate what every culture brings to the world. Every culture, every human being, or every human culture that exists enriches the whole in some way. I don't care what artwork you look at. You know, even go back to the cave paintings. People say caveman, you're back in cave times. Those people could paint and draw better than 99% or 95% of the human population today. They were creative, just like we're creative. And we need to recognize that everyone has that. But the sticking point of all of this, I'm going to use this and just add some value here, is that we need to just recognize that in each other. You know, see that beauty that each person has and each culture has, and we can do. We're in a time now where we have to do that. We have to work together, and that's the kind of excitement and beauty of it. You know, I mean, that can be really exciting and potentially very, very beautiful, but we need to have leaders that represent that kind of ideal, you know, and they're like, don't be scared. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Stop being afraid. Just be afraid of being afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't live in fear. Fair enough. All right, Bon Iver. Maybe you're right. Um, but the thing is I think it's not that we can't live in fear. It's that we just have to acknowledge that we're all really afraid. And through acknowledging the truth of it, we we realize that we're all in this together. You know, that's the other side of it, is that we're potentially in an amazing place. We're potentially in an amazing opportunity. You know, I want to see the glass half full right now. But right now it kind of seems to me like it's half empty. And I don't see the positive in it, I see the negative. And it makes me sad. It does. Because as I draw this awful, scary creature, and I was telling my friend I don't like scary I don't like scary movies. And then it was a little funny exchange. And she said she didn't like scary movies either, but she gets scared at scary movies, but she likes being scared, which to me seems kind of weird. Although I've been trying in the past number of months, especially when I was dealing with my anxiety. My anxiety was super bad before I came across cognitive behavioral therapy, and really polyvagal too. Gotta give polyvagal a shout out because polyvagal has really influenced me as well. Polyvagal is looking at your nervous system. It's like when you get anxious, it's your nervous system that's sort of, caught up. Now I'm doing this. Okay, that's right. It's on its own layer. But I was looking at scary movies because I thought, maybe if I can learn to work through scary movies, then I can learn to be comfortable with my own nervous system. As an experiment. I have no idea. There's no scientific truth in this, so don't just go watch it. Although, scary movies can't hurt you. But if you can learn to be afraid, and that's the thing, is some people enjoy it. It's really good to be afraid. I don't feel like it's good, but I feel like you can learn to be comfortable in it and learn to not be ruled by it. Because a lot of times what we fear is just in our mind, And I think that's my point with the that speech from King Lear. It's that we don't be governed by what you think you should say, because you're probably actually just operating based on fear. You're not really operating based on the truth. You're operating based on assumptions and fears. And if you start, if you stop letting your fears play such a big role, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit lost. I haven't really had proper lunch yet, so, and I'm running out of steam. I'm running out of steam for this stream, but I feel like this come a long way. This little guy, this little creature, it's getting out there, right? Let's see it with. Okay, I'm gonna bounce it back to Procreate. Can I? I kind of pull my little mustache here. I'm trying to encourage it. I'm going to share this. Well, I'm going to go gallery. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to share it. No, this one. I'm going to export the PSD back to iCloud. No, back to files. Into artwork. I'm going to save it. Oh, keep both. Okay, hopefully that worked out. It's looking very bone-like now. I kind of like that. I kind of like this linear drawing of it. Um, I like doing these kind of. I mean, I like figure drawing too. Like I can see, I can show you here some figure work of mine. It's okay. I think this is probably from life at figure drawing. I go to Rutgers Camden. Well, I used to go to Rutgers Camden, but I go there for figure drawing. So just some figure drawings. I like drawing from life. I like drawing the figure. And I think it's really important as skill to learn. Import, and I'm going to go back. Oh, I think I'm in Dropbox, okay. And on my iPad, and then art. Ooh. No, that's not right. Oh, artwork. Untitled 2. Okay, boom. I just like the way that Procreate handles layers better than Dropbox. But Dropbox better than background color. Boom. And then we're over here to a little bit darker gray. So it lets the darker gray it increases the contrast. So the drawing that's there really pops. I just like the drawing tools of Sketchbook. I love that pencil tool. I just feel like it's so responsive. But I was going to experiment with. Oh, it lost all the layers. It's there, but they were grouped. See, it says layer group, and it's all messed up. It's all janked now. Oh well. So what I did was this. Oh, did I draw on this layer by accident? Oh no. Okay. I think I did. I can always just bring it in again. Let's go this way. Boom, boom. There you go. And I can go boom, boom. And then I can go boom. And I can go boom. All right. And then I gotta turn on. There. Wow, look at that. Look at this guy. It's creepy, isn't it? It's fun. I gotta erase gotta work those teeth out. I've avoided it a little bit. But to me, this is just a lot of fun. And I appreciate those that listen to me ramble. Ramble on. Sing my song. Like Led Zeppelin says. Great band, great song. I've been listening to a lot of Zeppelin and a lot of Pink Floyd. I think Pink Floyd, The Wall it's about breaking down the wall and being open to other people. And I don't know if it's possible for everyone to break down their wall. And I don't know if it's anyone else's job to do so, but the individual. And no one can do so. I can't get someone to open up and to be vulnerable, to show the truth of themselves. I can see when people don't, because I used to sit for hours in drama workshops, and I can see the fake and I can see the true. I can see the various tricks that people pull to protect their vulnerability, because it's thought to be a weakness in our society to show that you're scared, to show that you're vulnerable, to show that you've been wrong. And it means making yourself vulnerable to admit those things. And I think the most important thing we can do is we can start being honest with each other. Say what we feel, not what we ought to say. And that's where we are. Say what you feel. I'm here saying the truth of what I feel. I may be wrong, but this is what I believe to be true. And I don't feel like what I'm saying here is influenced by fears of mine. You can go and find me online and look at my speech from when I won Teacher of the Year, but that was not an easy speech to give. I talked about how I dropped out of high school and my father kicked me out of the house, and and I was hanging out with the wrong crowd and drinking and smoking, and I thought that was really important. And the way that my art teacher, Mr. Petty, became my mentor. And it wasn't easy to make that speech in front of the superintendent of the district and my principal and everybody else as I won Teacher of the Year. But I felt like I was given a platform to tell the truth. And I feel like this is a platform to tell the truth too. And I think that's what we need more of. Life isn't, I don't think about, life to a large degree, and believe me, I know this, as an art teacher who at one point didn't know if I was going to have a job. And when I was about 30 years old, I'm 41 now, when I was 30, I changed my whole life and rebuilt my whole life, like relationship, everything. Marriage ended, and I had to start a new career and had to go back to college at 30 with 20-year-olds, and so I've been in a place where the world around me seemed to cease to exist the way it should, or not should, or my plan forward seemed to fall apart, and I had to make a new path. But all the work in theater and other stuff that I've done has just told me that the most important thing that I think we can do is just to tell the truth to each other about the way we really feel, and not be afraid. And if we can be honest, we can say what we feel and not what we think we ought to say, but we say what we honestly feel. We'll all start being more open with each other and realize that a lot of what we do, I think, is not governed by, I think, and I may be wrong, but what we do is we're afraid of things, and because we're afraid, we assume they're bad. We assume fear. We're afraid of something. It makes us uncomfortable. It makes us anxious. It makes us stressed. Therefore, it must be bad. And when I was standing there on stage and Robert Beltran was kicking my butt, I wanted to run away. I did not want to have to open up and challenge myself to whether it be to cry or to laugh. There's one time I was playing Casca in Julius Caesar, and Casca is a comedic character. And you can tell I'm kind of a serious kind of guy. I make jokes too, but I definitely lean more towards the drama than the comedy, I think, at times. And it was hard for me. I wanted to be all serious. He's like, nope. It's not serious. It's funny. It's always funny. There's always a joke. And I guess comedians, if you go to look at Dave Chappelle and great comedians, they are using humor to get at truth. And I think we need more truth, and we need less non-truth. Don't say what you think you ought to say. Don't even think about what you ought to say. Think about what needs to be said. And or think about the way you feel and say that honestly. And don't use what the neighbors might say. Don't use what you think the politicians want to hear. No. Don't use the thought that's conditioned by the television and the ads. Find out who you really are. Examine your own life. And I think there's great thinkers that can help you do that, like Plato and Socrates. Go read Plato Dialogues. Martin Luther King wrote books, like Why We Can't Wait. Go look at his speeches, all of those speeches. The speeches where he talks about Vietnam and economics. He wasn't just talking about civil rights. That was important. That was maybe the keystone on which all the other issues were built. But there were other issues in there, like economic issues. Like, he talks about how the poor whites and the poor blacks were kept at each other's throats after the Civil War, so the aristocracy could just continue to rule. If the poor people of this country the middle class and down, white and black and Asian and Latino and Latina, all got together and they put aside their racial differences to realize that one of the big problems that we have is the haves and have-nots. That the racial issue is just a side issue that's used to distract us. Same with the religious issue. And we realize that the economic issue is the primary issue. You're free to practice your religion, you're free to have your culture, but you're not free to hold all the wealth and all of the resources for yourself and your friends and your family and exclude the rest of us. Realize that every time that you're pointing at the immigrants coming across the country, the border as the problem, realize that every time you think they're coming to take your guns and that's the problem, if you realize every time you think it's those people over there that are the problem, realize that you're playing the script that's been given to you and that you need to examine your life and examine yourself and examine your own thoughts. And how do you discern truth? Start with the Socratic method. Start with Plato. If you could go see some good live theater, go participate in live theater. Learn to be vulnerable to each other and be honest. Then we have a chance, because there's nothing human creativity can't defeat it. We just have to stop seeing it as us versus them, China and Russia, and oh gosh, sorry, we are all the same. Our ancestors painted on cave walls. Our ancestors came from Africa, and in an amazing feat of human ingenuity, traveled across the planet without airplanes and trains, using their brain. And we can solve this problem very easily if we just put aside our differences, tell the truth about where we really feel and how scared we are, become vulnerable to each other, and also learn to tell those people who are not, because right now we can't. So all of that wrapped up in a nice little drawing lesson. Thank you for the 2 people that have watched. I think I might be one of those 2 people. But thank you for checking out. Thank you to all my 50 subscribers. 50 subscribers, that's awesome. Thank you for watching my unedited stream of consciousness for the last hour plus. And hopefully you are also working on your own drawing and you're finding your own objects around the house. Like, I talked about the mouse, right? The mouse could be a spaceship or something. Or I've seen things where people take video game controllers and other things. There are other artists that do this kind of thing. I'm not pretending like I invented this lesson or invented this idea. I mean, I was even thinking about it. Prehistoric man, they took a sacrum from a camelid, which was like a type of a camel that lived in Mexico, and they made it. They were like, this kind of looks like a dog, and they carved it into a dog's head, right? So people have been taking things that are one thing, like a bone, and turning it into something else, or a stone. Before prehistoric art existed, prehistoric man, people used to find little rocks that look like faces, and they used to just keep them and carry them around on them. Like, hey, that kind of looks like a face. That's kind of cool. They just kept it with them. That's the beauty. That's the amazing beauty that connects us all. We just need to connect in those kinds of ways, because all of us have that ability. So